What's up, everyone? How you doing today? He always gives me the best introductions. I appreciate it. Appreciate you all being here. I'm so excited to get to celebrate Rooster with you all. As he just explained, if you like some of Bill Lawrence's past shows, it's kind of like the feeling where he's done it again. You know how he creates these ensembles that you fall so hard for and you just want to spend more time with them? That's what they do again here. And we're going to dig into some of the secret sauce, how they pull it off time and time again. And just to reiterate this stat, because it's a big deal, when Rooster premiered, it became the most watched HBO comedy debut in the US in 10 years, which is really something else. And personally, I think it's extremely well-deserved. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming the team behind Rooster, beginning with co-showrunner, executive producer, and writer, Matt Tarses. Congratulations. We have star Danielle Deadwyler with us. Congrats. Please say hello to Charly Clive. Get ready for this one. We've got Steve Carell in the house today. And finally, co-showrunner, executive producer, and writer, Bill Lawrence.
Come on, wake up.
That's the kind of vibe I need.
Chris Fleming panel? This is the panel. Now, by the way, go to that panel. He's an amazing stand-up. Chris Fleming, go next.
Congratulations yet again to all of you. I adore the episodes that I've watched thus far, and to see your show embraced the second it debuted on HBO is really something special and something to be proud of. So again, congratulations. So we can set the scene for everybody a little bit. Matt and Bill, would you mind walking us through how the story idea for Rooster came to be?
We had talked with Steve about something we had in common, which was a bunch of we all had adult daughters that had been kids not that long ago, and now were suddenly totally different creatures. And it presented new challenges as parents. And so we started with that kind of as the kernel of it, and then Bill and I went off and thought about a place to set it, and all three of us have these connections to these small liberal arts colleges, and so we thought that would be a cool place to try to do a show about a father and daughter, kind of redefining their relationship, and kind of redefining who they are after some hard luck.
I love hearing about how things evolve every single step of the way. So can the two of you maybe tell us what the biggest difference is between how you pictured this show turning out when you first came up with the idea and the finished show that everyone is starting to love right now?
I didn't think Matt would get as much credit. I found that to be look, the coolest thing about the shows that I like to write is, Steve and I talked about this, and Matt and I talked about this, is that we very quickly want the actors and actresses to kind of get ownership of their characters, and then what we do is we walk around and take credit for their work, which is so fun. And so for us, the shows of mine over the years that I think, or I hope, have kind of struck a chord with people. The performers kind of embody their characters and take ownership of them so quickly. And on this show, the thing that was so different is these people aren't just playing what we had in our heads. Every one of them has taken the stuff and kind of made it their own. So for me, that's 99% of the fun of television, when you can tell the actors and actresses are kind of embodying the characters and that the rapport is real. I mean, we all went to dinner last night, and it could have been an episode of the show, just the way people talk and interact, and that's the fun.
I'll give you one follow-up then. Can you tell us which character changed the most from script to screen based on what the actor brought to their role?
I got one. You go first, but I got an idea.
She hasn't, in the episodes that have been on yet, changed much, but the character that Annie Mumolo plays was conceived very differently, and because she has this really specific, incredibly hilarious style, we sort of let the part change a lot for her, and it's so much better than what we had thought of.
And I was going to say there's a stand-up comic on the show named Rory Scovel that plays a cop, and that was supposed to be, what we call a one-off. And watching him work with each of these guys, it was impossible to not use him a lot because he's so funny.
Two people well worth highlighting. I'll warn you, I have so many more ensemble questions, though, because you have so many people in this cast that I want to be able to highlight. I want to backtrack just a little bit with the two of you first, though, because you're both very busy. I have to imagine you have a whole bunch of story ideas. Is there anything about the Rooster story that felt like the perfect thing to do now? Why maybe this project was greenlit before others you're working on, and why it might speak to what people want to see in their TV now?
Look, I worry that I think people know my voice a little bit if they're TV nerds, I want to say that I really like shows like, someone asked me what my favorite sitcom was the other day. I said Veep, because it's literally just people finding new ways to be horrible to each other, and it's my favorite. It's like crack for me. I'm like, nom, nom, nom. It's just so good. I can't write that, and I think for us anyways, to write something that has an undercurrent of hope and optimism and kindness when maybe Matt and I and the other writers, if not the performers, kind of need it in our own lives. To go to work every day and get to do that regardless of how it turns out is it feels super healthy, and maybe that's on some reason why it's resonating with some people.
I keep highlighting the warmth that your show has. It's like every time I put on an episode, it's just an environment that I feel good in while I explore and see these crazy situations that the characters get into. So I do really appreciate the quality. Bill, Matt, and Steve, I'll loop you all in on this because you have such a strong history, all of you, in terms of doing shows with infectious ensembles, like such lovable ensembles, again, that you want to spend time with. And it was making me wonder, what was maybe the first thing that happened on this set, or maybe even the first thing you saw in these early scripts that made you say, like, it does feel like this show could have the same vibe as, let's say like The Office, The Scrubs. I could literally go on and on naming titles like that.
Can I just jump in and say, I don't want to promote this show as having an infectious ensemble.
It's safe to watch.
That's fair.
Matt and I had been told to say star vehicle as much as we could. It's probably the first star vehicle I've ever done. No, I will tell you, Steve was talking about something earlier today, and not only Steve, but Danielle and Charly do this too, is because it's a college show, there's a lot of kids' faces that you haven't seen before playing students. And for me, I knew this was going to be just a fun experience work-wise the second I saw the way that Steve worked with these kids. And a lot of them, A, are inexperienced, and B, you say action, and they go, that's Steve Carell. And then you say cut. You know what I mean? And but watching him work with them, and then by extension, watching like Danielle and Charly and Phil work with some of the kids that are floating around this world, it just made the ensemble feel richer and bigger to the extent that there's too many characters on this show. I mean, we should probably do a show of hands of who should stay and who should go, but that seems insensitive. But no, that was part of the fun, though, was watching these guys all connect with some of these new faces.
Danielle and Charly, I'll come your way now as I guess like newcomers to this kind of space and this kind of storytelling structure. What is the first thing that happened on this set that made you two feel this kind of, again, I'll just keep calling it like the secret sauce because it's not easy to create this kind of vibe on set. So what was the first thing that happened that made you think to yourself, we're making something that could feel quite like these other iconic shows that they've made?
I think Bill said it's okay, you can F up and you're not gonna lose your job, and you can, and I was like, oh, bet, let's go. But no, Bill and Matt came in the room and immediately made it okay for us to play. You don't often get to have the kind of read-throughs on a weekly basis in the beginning with regard to film, and so TV gives you, particularly TV and comedy, gives you the ability to do that. But coming into a space where there are vets and newbies, and they're all, just geeked to be there, that's a particular energy that you want to feel, right? And you need that for comedy, you need that for anything, but it just felt enlivened, it felt energetic, it felt crazy, it felt like Charly.
Me?
Yeah, it felt like you.
I was going to say the read-through as well. I had never been to a read-through on a lot before, so it was very scary walking into it, and then immediately stopped being scary because everybody was very nice, and because everybody really made each other laugh. And as soon as you say a line and you have Matt and Bill and Steve Carell laugh, you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be okay. That was my job, and I did it. And I think making Steve laugh is sort of the high I will chase for the rest of my life. And it began there, and it was very nice.
I have to ask this as a follow-up. Do you remember the very first time you made Steve laugh?
Weird question line.
That's
You guys remember?
I make Steve. I don't remember a specific time. I remember the first time Steve made me laugh in real life, rather than on a screen. And that was, I came into the read-through, and I really wanted to be very cool and meet everybody as a fellow professional actor and be like, look, I'm also here and I belong here. And I immediately got a bit overwhelmed, and I said hi to Steve, and he was like, hi, so nice to meet you in real life. And I said, I'm really scared. It just came out. I didn't want to say it, but I said it. And Steve went, me too. And I laughed, and it was funny and it was nice. And then Bill made a speech and said everyone is allowed to sort of we have to have fun with this, and we've got to, in one of his speeches that was very, very funny and very long, and and then I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be like summer camp. This is great.
I love that. Steve, I'm going to come your way now to start to dig into your character a little bit. So
I love talking about the process.
brace yourself. I'm a little bit of a nerd for the process. There might be one of those questions buried in here.
Oh,
but
no.
But first, I kind of just want to know why now for this type of character? Is there anything about playing Greg that made you think, like, I have something to gain from this as an actor, always looking to evolve my craft? Or maybe even just, like, I feel like playing a guy
It
like
was
this right
mostly
now.
the money, really. I saw an opportunity, HBO, awesome platform. Let's go for it. No, honestly, we met and we did talk about having adult daughters, and that did spark interest in a character way, because the character I play isn't exactly me, but it's a version because, you know, I have been experiencing a lot of these like moments with my own daughter, and Bill and Matt can write to this really well because they have daughters of the same age, essentially. So it immediately felt lived in. It felt true. And as broad as it gets, I always feel like the show stays true, stays human, and can take a left turn into something that's a little darker or deeper or more heartfelt. And I like that too. That's of comfort to me as an actor. I like not doing something that's just one thing or another, but representative of all different parts of life. And I've said this a million times before, but a character doesn't know they're in a comedy or a drama. They're just there. So they're just experiencing life as it comes to them. And I really feel like these guys depicted that in their writing.
Can I ask you my nerdy acting question now?
No. Yes.
I might have to ask it anyway. Can you tell us something about your approach to preparing for your characters that has stayed consistent from show to show, from film to film, but then also something about playing Greg that called for something different?
I didn't want Greg to be a Walter Mitty type. I didn't want him to be a shrinking violet. I think there's that gray area of somebody who has had a pretty good deal of success professionally and is well known, and I think this is actually something I do relate to, that isn't completely comfortable in that world. It wasn't what I set out to achieve. I don't think it's what the character of Greg set out to achieve. He didn't, becoming famous in any form was not something that he strived for. He just wanted to be a writer. But then when all of this other stuff happened, he had to sort of get outside of himself a little bit and maybe paint a bit of a persona that would work in this world. So there's an awkwardness to it, but he's not an awkward person. He's a bit shy, but I don't think he's an introvert. So there's like that gray area that I thought would be interesting to explore. and he's also was married to an incredibly powerful, really impressive woman, and there had to be something about this character that appealed to her. So I think those components of the script are things that I used and worked on.
You play one other role in this production that I do have to highlight. You're also an executive producer on this show, which is a big deal and another major commitment with a production like this. So it was making me wonder, at what point in the process do you stop and say to yourself, I could best serve this story, this show overall by not just being a star in it, but also an EP on it?
Well, they invited me in to do that. And honestly, when we met, Bill and Matt asked whether I wanted to take part in writing the pilot, and I said, no, this was your idea. I always think things, especially initially, are better when they have a more singular voice and not written by committee, because then it is something tangible. It has a real point of view, and they clearly seem to have an idea where they wanted it to go. So I read the pilot several months later and thought it was terrific, and I think as an executive producer, I feel like my role is to kind of safeguard, to, if anything does ring, not even false, but just not right for a particular moment, just because a lot of times you don't know until you're actually in the moment, whether something feels like it's authentic to the situation or to the characters. And that's when I tend to raise my hand and try, and they're usually micro adjustment kind of things. But I think, I feel like there's just such a nice partnership with these guys and the cast. I can't speak highly enough of this cast. It was an instant feeling of ensemble, and that's the place I feel happiest.
That's why I said I'm going to obsess over ensemble during our conversation. I'm going to expand it a little bit now by coming your way, Charly, with another question. You kind of touched on this a little bit before, but Rooster marks a big milestone for you because it's your first American TV role, which is a pretty big and exciting leap to make, but I also have to imagine it makes you a little nervous. So do you remember the first time you were kind of standing there on set and thought to yourself, like I feel good here and like I can deliver my best work and like I really deserve this opportunity?
Has it happened yet?
Oh, still waiting. No, actually the very first scene that we filmed was just Steve and I think it's in the first episode. It's in Katie's office and they're writing the letter.
Second episode.
That's the second episode. I read the scripts. And
Check it out, it's good.
It's a wonderful scene. And I was very nervous for it. And then when we started doing it, it felt like we'd done it. It didn't feel like the first day. We were both, I think, pleasantly surprised that we were like, oh great, this is something that we can keep doing, and this feels really authentic. And that was a really big moment for me because I was like, okay, I can kind of unclench. This doesn't need to be sort of 4 months of me begging for people to accept that I'm here. Nobody ever, at any stage, made me feel like I shouldn't be there, which is really lovely. And also, I think I went through a slightly sycophantic stage of thanking Bill and Matt constantly. And Matt, or maybe Bill actually, said, don't thank me, I don't make mistakes. And I was like, okay, great.
Based on the casting choices here, I will agree. Charly and Steve, I'll throw this one to both of you because one of the greatest joys of this show is the chemistry and the cadence you share with one another. What was the first thing that happened on set that made you look at the other and go like, she is 100% the Katie to my Greg and vice versa?
I'm only cueing you because for me it was watching. Steve was so generous as an executive producer when we were trying to cast the part. He was reading with a lot of the actors and actresses, and for me it was watching you guys just read together for the first time and kind of find that rapport and find that thing. Yeah,
I don't think it was a singular moment. It was an essence of somebody, and frankly, it's a beautiful thing when you're working with someone and you know that they have your back, and you know that they're thinking, my partner is the most important part of this scene, and I'm going to do everything to make their performance as good as it can be. Because if both people are thinking that, the wind comes into the sails, and I feel like our whole cast is that way. It's no one, and I said this before in promoting the show, it's very reminiscent to me of my experience on The Office, that cast, there were people in the background for 7 years who got a few lines here and there, were not necessarily featured in a lot of the episodes, but were in it every time, and it was all for one for all, and that's the sense I get on this. And even on a Zoom with Charly, I knew there's a kindness. Obviously, she's incredibly talented, but beyond that, as a human being, just super accessible and kind and generous, and it just makes it very, very easy. What about you?
Ooh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm sort of like winded from how nice that was. What was the question?
It was about the first moment that you knew the vibe between your characters as father and daughter was going to work really well.
From the read through, certainly. On Zoom, I do think that it felt so much, as soon as Zoom is kind of awkward, and auditioning on Zoom is sort of strange and complicated, and you're worried about like what your bedroom looks like, and you're worried about where to look, and it feels a bit sort of, your Wi-Fi might ruin it, but that, as soon as we started the scene, I felt like, it just felt really fun, and I remember also thinking, even if I don't get the role, or if this goes nowhere else, I've done a scene with Steve Carell. That's a really exciting thing for anybody to be able to say. So that was great, and I think, it's always been very exciting, and Greg and Katie, that's been like a very, very nice thing to find and explore, and every time they do lots of walk and talks in the show, and those are always my favorite. That feels like a really cool thing.
Danielle, it is time to put the spotlight on your wonderful work.
Snap.
It's your time. You know how I feel about all of your dramatic work. I think you are exceptional, and I think you deserve even more credit than you get for all of your roles. This marks a big shift for you because please applaud for that. The shift into comedy surprised me and delighted me because I got to see you flex your acting muscles even further, and I think that's wonderful. Was a comedy something you were deliberately seeking out, or was it a surprise to you when Rooster came your way?
Oh, it was definitely a seeking out. I wanted something that was smart. I wanted something that was snappy, that was everything that this show brings, you know? I needed to rest my nervous system for all of the things that you previously loved me for.
Very fair. So given you are seeking this out, I have to imagine you go into a project like this with some expectations for what it might be like making a comedy series. Can you tell us about a way that the Rooster experience maybe exceeded those expectations?
Oh, gosh. The inclusivity of your intuitive self, your spontaneous self. Bill and Matt wanted that immediately, and I was like, whoa, this is day one. What do you want me to do? Like, I don't have that. Wait, give me a second. And I think one scene we did a walk and talk. The first scene is a walk and talk in the first episode, and I say something to the effect of adjective fucker, and I was like, yes. Right? Like, this is exceeding my expectation because I am starting to infuse, and inflect some quality of, my humor into our humor, right? And that anytime you can bring your full self, it's wildly beautiful and wonderful.
Because I now need you to work in this genre even more, just in attempt to manifest something. What is something that still remains on your comedy acting bucket list?
Oh, I ain't got no comedy bucket list. I'm winging it, baby.
I'm fine with that.
There was another joint I did here, The Saviors, and the bear happened. I'm just like last year was a whirlwind of just funny, and I'm happy to keep playing and flowing with the river of it all, you know.
If anyone has the opportunity to see The Saviors while you're here, do check it out. Another fantastic ensemble that you're a part of. Danielle and Steve, I'm going to give you this question, and I don't know, it's kind of a nerdy acting question again. And I have to read this quote because I feel like I'm going to butcher it if I try to paraphrase it. Danielle, you had said this in a different interview. Steve has lived in a certain world and realm of projects, and I've lived in a certain realm of projects. We came in together, and as two people, literally just trying to figure each other out on Rooster. Can you tell me a little bit about how maybe your very different bodies of work helped the dynamic between your characters on this show?
Well, first you quote me and then you pressure us both. Oh my God. I think I was thinking of how the assumption that I come from a lot of drama and the idea that Steve comes from a lot of comedy, but there is a murkiness to all of that. I mean, Steve has done some dynamic dramatic work in theater as well as in film, and then I've tickled comedy as well as, you know, other realms, and so when you bring people together who have done things that are kind of in the same sphere and they're curious about each other, which I think is what our characters are. They're both folks who are in the literary world. Greg is much more commercial, and Dylan is in the poetic realm. They're two spheres, two circles that are overlapping, and yet they move their circles closer together because of this curiosity, because of this unknown quality of themselves. And I think that that's important. I mean, the fact that it's set on a collegiate institution is just that thing. This is a place where people who don't know each other, who have all kinds of their own ideas, come together to be challenged. I think that that's the cool thing about me and Steve working together, which was from day one, me coming to do the workshop. It was an audition, but it was a workshop because Steve wanted to work. And he treated it like that. It was like, we're digging. This isn't just to, you know, do a throwaway thing. We're building character right now. And so that's the kind of ethic and rigor that I love in drama, and Steve gave it in this as well.
Yeah, I think we're very similar in that way, that the fun is finding it. The fun is, if it's not quite there or doesn't feel right, let's try it again. You know, with the director's permission, with your permission, we had that freedom to start looking for stuff. And I don't know if I told you this, but the first audition, you came in, and I know it turned into a workshop. But that the first time we read through, I thought, oh, and I don't think I said it to these guys right away. I said, oh, that's who I want. This is my choice. I don't want to get it too far down the road. I don't want to throw that in there. But I thought, the more we do this, and the more people can see of all the different versions of this that you're capable of doing, that you'll definitely get it. So I thought, it was a bit of a, I'm gonna make her do this as many times as possible to basically to show off your talent.
See what I'm saying?
No, because I thought, no, there's so many different directions you can take this as an actor, and everyone, you know, your reputation precedes you. But in terms of a comedy, you were exactly right, and you were right there, and it was also just super fun. I could have done that all day.
Yeah.
So many people to highlight. Bill and Matt, I'll give you this question about the casting process first, because again, I adore this ensemble, and I think everybody in this ensemble is a perfect fit for their role. But I'm so curious, when you're assembling a group like this, what is the key to knowing actors won't just be perfect fits for their characters, but they'll also be able to create that kind of group chemistry that keeps us coming back for more and more?
Look, before we say anything, I think all of us would start by saying there's so many people that don't get credit when you do this thing. And this show was cast by someone named Allison Jones. And if you follow, and by the way, she helped us find Steve. We did not know his work. Yeah, but for real though, with whether it was championing Danielle to be in this world, or telling us that Charly speaking with an American accent was not in fact a magic trick and was something that we had to just stop being amazed by and deal with. She was amazing, so that's part of it. I think the second thing for me, and then I'll let Matt answer how we kind of found the rest of the people, because this is generosity of Steve and Matt. I often work with the same actors and actresses and writers. I would encourage you, no matter what you do, if you're lucky enough to work with people that you want to spend time with anyway, you'd be insane not to do it, you know? And so for me, for these guys, it's also a cheat sheet, because in my head, from years of Spin City, I know how Connie Britton and Alan Rutt talk. From years of Scrubs, I kind of know how Johnny C. McGinley talks. Rory Scovel was a lead of a sitcom I did once. And that kind of cheat code to at least knowing how, not only how people are as performers and what might be funny coming out of their mouths, but also knowing that they're incredibly kind and giving and easy to be around is kind of half the battle. Because you guys remember when Matt and I and Steve started in television, you had like 24 episodes, you had like 13 episodes to have fans get to know people, and now they kind of decide in 5 minutes of like if this is a group of people that has chemistry and if I feel they're authentic and I want to hang out with them or not. So you kind of feel that pressure to create that right away, you know? And so it's always a big thank you for these guys. And by the way, I'll let you take with the rest of the characters too. There was only one that you were worried about, and then you've been so kind about him. You can tell
Bill, in a great way, surrounds himself with, he keeps this kind of Bill Lawrence troupe of actors following him through the years. And
why do you seem so annoyed by it?
I'm about to be excited about it. Get ready. And I just wanted to make sure with this show that we were not only casting the best people, that we were definitely, making it a different kind of show. And so of course we hired John McGinley right away, who I was 100% behind hiring John, because we based the character on him, and he we literally stole a bunch of things that he had said to us one day while we were sitting talking to him. So we had to hire him. But Bill pitched Phil Dunster as the Archie character, and I loved Phil in Ted Lasso, but I was, I thought, is it going to be compared to all these other things? And Phil just turned out to be, the short answer to this should have just been that Phil is, he's so exceeded my expectations. He's so funny. He's so good. He's so different than the Jamie Tart character that people have been writing to me and said, how do I know this guy? And so that's been a huge win for Bill, that he'll lord over me for a long time.
The other thing we do, if you're into this too, is there's tons of funny people out there. And whether it's this kid that was narrating that, Maximo, look for him. He's a lovely young actor, and he's so ridiculously talented. He's going to be everywhere. There's 1,000 kids and people like that. One of the things we do on all of our shows is we try to have a no asshole policy. So when it doesn't always work, someone always sneaks in somewhere. But when we have auditions, and Steve was part of this too, and you guys, when you're coming in for your work session that no one else had to do a work session, that was very weird. I'm joking. Or whatever, is we take great pains to know the actors and actresses and shoot the shit with them, even if it's a 2 or 3 line part, and kind of get to know who they are and what their vibe is. And like for Matt and me, Matt doesn't like to talk about it, but look for there's one of the young actresses in the show is his daughter, who the show is partly based on. She's amazing. Her name's Fiona Tarses. But one of the things that made us really happy, literally a few weeks after we, I don't know if we had wrapped the show or if we were on a break, but we saw a picture on social media, and there was all the young students hanging out together at a restaurant in New York, just drinking beer and being dummies and stuff. And so if you can create that type of work environment, I think hopefully it shows on screen. So that's part of it.
I'm going to ask a question to the whole group in a moment, just to hit on a couple of scenes and standout, scene partners that you have. But I had one follow-up based on something you just said that kind of spans your career. You were talking a little bit about working with the same actors over and over and almost essentially establishing a cheat code. And it was just making me wonder, is there any particular actor whose voice and style was maybe the most challenging for you to master? And like when it clicked, it was just so incredibly creatively satisfying for you?
This is really important to me personally, because my first mentor in TV was Michael J. Fox, and we put him. Oh yeah, you can. He's the greatest guy in the world. You know, my career has come full circle because I was very lucky. I was very young when I created that show, and he turned out to be exactly the way that you hoped someone that you idolized would be. And then to be working with Steve, who is, it's not an act, he is that kind, he is that giving, he sets the culture on the show, he's lovely to be around. But Mike, for me, it was so tricky because, one, I was in awe of him. I think the way that some of the younger performers on this show are in awe of Steve, and he breaks that down the same way Mike does. But the weirdest thing was Mike's timing, and it's hard to write timing. You know, and that was in the old multi-camera days. And I can tell a quick story because I remembered I was terrified about it. I wrote a joke in the pilot of Spin City that Mike's talking to his girlfriend, and she's like, why, you know, she's a reporter and he works in the mayor's office. She's like, why would we ever be dating? And it was a joke that I thought, you know what, it was filler. I thought, like, we'll replace this later. This is just so I can hand the script in. And it was, well, because people like you need people like me to get things done. People like me need people like you to keep them in check. And you guys know the punchline. It's a clam. It's old. It was, and people who need people, the luckiest people of all, right? Bad joke. And I'm like, I go, Mike, I'm so sorry. I just had to turn the script. He goes, no, you can't change the joke. It's going to crush in front of a live audience because part of my comedy is based on a joke that people get to figure out the punchline before I say it, and then I still wait, and then I say it anyways, and they'll laugh because of the joy that they figured out before me. And I was like, that was such an insist. So you can go back and look at that pilot, and it's in the show. And he literally, you know, people like need people this, people like you need people like me to keep them in check, and people who need people. And they just nodded for like 20 seconds in front of a live audience. The luckiest. And by the way, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So that voice was really, really hard to capture.
Oh, I love that. And also I lie. Before I go to the big group question, just to follow up on something you just said for you, Steve, this also came up the last time we spoke a little. You were highlighting some of the student actors and, you know, how incredible they were. And for a lot of them, Rooster's their first big project. I feel like oftentimes in these interview spaces, we ask the newer actors what they learned from the legends, from the acting veterans. But my favorite thing is how it can go both ways. Can you tell us about anything you saw them do on this set that inspired even you?
Well, when you look at some of these young actors, and they're all really talented, but I think a lot of it is just lack of experience, and it's their first time on a set, and there's a lot of pressure, and not that anyone put any pressure on them. There's just an inherent. There are 100 people there, and they're all waiting for you to say your line and do it correctly and hit your mark. But to watch their evolution from the first take to the last take that they did at the end of the season was remarkable. And the confidence that built so quickly. And I think in part it was my job to put them in as much of a comfort zone as they could be, that we have the freedom to fail. This is not, there's nothing wrong here. There is no wrong or right. It's just we're going to pick the best one, and we're going to have fun along the way, and just try stuff. And once they understood that, you could see the light in their eyes and the joy that they had in the experience. And they all became buddies. We all became friends. I'll stop for a second. I know we talk a lot about how much fun we had doing the show. No one cares how much fun the cast had doing a show. Because ultimately, it's what you see, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, I'm glad you all had a great time, but it sucked, you know? But I'm at a point in my career that the experience is as important to me, and the no asshole policy it applies. I think I don't want to waste my time anymore with that. And not that I've really worked with many people that were difficult, because I've been really lucky, but that pervasive culture I really attribute to Bill and Matt, that it was a place you could just have fun and explore. And I do think that registers in what you see. I do think you understand that this was a joyous thing from its inception. And I think it translates on the screen.
Oh, I think
Personally.
so. I think when you have that joy on set, oftentimes you do see it radiating off the screen in the finished product. I'll go back to that big group question so we could shout out as many of your co-stars as we possibly can right now. So all of you go into this project, I'm sure, looking at all the actors and knowing to your core like they're probably really good at what they do. But can you each name something you saw someone else do on this set that made you stop and go like, my God, I knew you were going to be good, but that was above and beyond what I expected?
Coming up, there's a hockey coach that has a substance abuse problem, and Steve has to step in and help. He's played by Scott MacArthur. You might remember, he was so good in that Breaking Bad movie, you know, and he's usually a dramatic actor, but he's also on a show called Running Point. Is that what it's called right now? One of the leads of that. And all we told him was that he's probably having an alcohol problem, and we'll see what happens. And we were shooting with Steve watching the game, and he called one of the hockey players over, and this wasn't scripted, and when the guy got close to him, he opened his beer on the guy's helmet, on his face, and then started casually drinking it. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'm so excited for Matt and I to jostle over who takes credit for that joke, and this is one of those shows because of people like that, and people like Annie, and people like Rory, and people like these guys, that there's stuff that is, by the way, all we wrote in the scene you saw earlier was Steve's character, Greg eats corn nuts. And then we get to take credit for watching you guys laugh like 7 times, which is a joy, and I'm so grateful. But for me, it's Scott MacArthur.
Don't eat pickled corn nuts, by the way. Really, those were actually pickle flavor, and they're incredibly bad.
Who's yours? Mine was Scott MacArthur.
Oh, well, Annie Mumolo comes to mind.
Oh, my goodness.
And when I heard, I didn't know she had been cast until the day she was there. And I thought, oh, these guys have no idea what they're in for. I've been a fan of her work. She's a great writer. She's iconic. And what I love about what she does is she's not only really funny, but there is a subtle depth to her characters, and a heart and a warmth and
A little sadness underneath it.
It was like heartbreaking and incredibly funny at the same time. So I think she's a gift because she's also writing half her material. Incredible, yeah. Incredible,
Great.
and so dirty on this show. She's got a dirty mouth.
There are so many, and so many new faces for you guys to look forward to. I will say Robbie Hoffman, very, very, very funny comedian, plays a role in the show, and everything. I didn't work with Robbie, but every time I see one of her scenes, I always look forward to it. She's so funny. Maximo Salas, who plays Tommy, is so good, and also the nicest, sweetest guy in the world. So those would be my 2 standouts, and I love them.
Well, damn, y'all took all of them.
No.
I mean, I would say the students, a lot of the time, I had a lot of classroom joints. And then, of course, working with Maximo, he was a student as well. Just watching folks take writer, submissions, along the way, shifting the script on the fly. That stuff was nasty and fantastic, right? All the students, I just have to give it up to them. They just brought such a fantastic energy every day, over exuberance. They're like, we're here. Oh my God, this is so great.
Yeah, and I got to go back to Rory just one more time because nobody, Rory Scovel, who plays the cop, is just, I can't watch him do a scene, and I've seen these scenes 1,000 times, and I laugh so hard every time. There's this scene that just aired this week in episode 2 where Phil Dunster's character spills coffee on his pants and says that now his trousers are ruined, and Rory is just so. The way we almost didn't use that line because we thought no one's gonna be able to say this right, and Rory says it twice, and and Bill will tell you, I just never stop laughing when I hear him say it.
Every time Rory Scovel says trousers and laughs at the British,
I have to leave the room.
I'll give a little shout out to Sophia, I believe, who plays Ronnie in the show.
Yeah.
Sophia Macy.
Yeah.
I saw her in your show, and then I came here to South by Southwest, and she's got a really great supporting role in the movie Brian, which is also fantastic. And it's just one of the coolest things to like discover someone in some one thing, and then immediately see them in something else that's great, and just know it's going to keep on building. So we've had you all give your team members here a shout out. I have a habit of doing this a lot because I love how in film and television we give each other awards. I think that's great, but I don't really think anybody stops to tell themselves good job enough and think about the things that they achieve personally that really means something to them. So is there anything about your experience making season 1 of Rooster that you know you're going to be especially proud of no matter what you go on to do from here?
All right. The show, I think, looks really beautiful, and I think we were able to kind of replicate a New England college in LA, and which is tricky to do, but I want to keep production in Los Angeles because there's not a ton there lately, so we're going to try and make all our shows there and keep it a hub. And I say that because the production designer and I, in the middle of the show, his name's Cabot McMullen, and he also did the production design on Spin City. We celebrated working together for 30 years on this show, which was very cool. So I look at it and I'm so proud of his work, that the main building and the main set. And to get to kind of have those long-lasting relationships and friendships in this business is the rarity. So it meant a lot to me.
Big deal. It's important.
It was fun to just push a little kindness out there. That to me was very gratifying. I hope people take it that way. It's hard to sell a show as a big warm hug because it's not a sexy sell for a show, but I do feel like it is that. I feel like it's funny, and it's, you know, we can't pat ourselves on the back too much, and it's not, you know, I don't think we're making any huge strides in terms of the world, but just a little push of kindness, I think, is needed right now. So I feel good about that.
I'm really proud I got a call back, honestly. I'm extremely proud that I got to do one audition for it, let alone to film one series. Yeah, I'm very proud.
As you should be.
I'm always enthused to do anything ensemble driven. I've had the opportunity to do, you know, leading things, and anytime that you can share the weight, which any kind of production is a sharing of weight. It's deeply, deeply collaborative, but driving with regard to artistic endeavors in this ensemble way, working with community is the realest thing to me always. So I'm proud of being able to attract and connect to folks and projects that live in that principle for me too.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, you often set out to do a thing, and you do it, and you can only really notice what's not working. And this is one of the few times where I watch this show again and again, and I want to watch it. I enjoy it. I enjoy this group of people together, and I think we made the world look authentic. And I think these guys created these characters that feel honest and, you know, and funny, because the goal, you know, was always. It was always the hope to be comedy first, and I do feel like there's great, dramatic, real, honest moments in the show, but I feel like it always makes me laugh too. So I'm proud of that.
So I think we have to start winding down soon. I'm going to attempt one more big group question here because the first 2 episodes of Rooster are available to stream now. So I hope you've watched them. If you haven't, go binge them ASAP. But in an effort to tease what's left of the season, can each of you maybe tease an upcoming episode that you are most excited for people to see and tell us a little bit about why?
There was a clip of the 4th episode that there was a kid reading his story, and it kind of explains the title. We don't talk about this a lot, but Matt and I based Steve's character on an author named Carl Hyacin. And when we were doing Bad Monkey, we got to know Carl, and he's exactly what Steve described the character as Greg as. He has humility, he's modest, he would, if you said, "Oh, you're like Elmore Leonard, you've had 15 bestsellers," which he has, he would say, "Oh, don't put me in Elmore's status." And he has this real humility to him. What was the question again?
You're doing it because that episode might be one of
but
my
yeah, I got it.
favorites
I'm back, you guys. I zoned out for a second because Matt's answer was better than mine, and I was seething with jealousy before. And in the 4th episode, we explained the title of the Rooster because the main character in Steve's books, they're a lot like Carl Hyacint's books. They're kind of rompy capers and adventures following this kind of banter-driven male lead. Watching Steve realize in an episode of A Night Out in College, when Greg, the character, never went to college, that you can be whoever you want when you get to college. You get to reinvent yourself, and that's one of the great nostalgic, lovely things about it when we all think back about it. It doesn't have to be that way only for kids. It can be that way for a guy our age at a crossroads as well. And watching Steve embrace that other side of himself and what the show is going to be like moving forward, as he kind of becomes the Rooster, it just filled me with joy, and watching his performance. And I think that's for me. I never know, I'm always hopeful, but that for me is when I was watching the show and it started to click. And I was like, I'd probably watch this. So
Feel that in that moment. Want to go next, Steve?
I do some nudity coming up, so I'm kind of excited.
that's true.
I know it's what
It
everybody's
was a
been
close
waiting
set
for.
except for Matt and me, but that was part of our thing. We just
Right.
went,
Yeah, it's a good teaser. I think people are pretty excited. There's a big buzz about that episode.
It's episode 6.
Yeah, just skip right to episode 6.
Right to the end.
Charlie, what you got for us?
I think it's episode 4 or 5. You're going to see Phil Dunster do some heinous things. And I'm very excited for that.
We, Steve and I ride a motorized vehicle that came purely out of just an observation one day on set. And so it just goes to show the whimsicality of the creation of this show. And so I think that's a fun thing to look out for.
I think the last episode, it's really hard to land these planes, and I feel like I'm proud of that last episode, the way we wrap up the first season, episode 10. I don't want to give anything away, but
Steve dies again.
well, now
He's been dying on like every show lately.
He dies.
It's okay.
Wait a
Once
second, that wasn't in the script.
Oh no, we were able to do it in editing, but no, I think you're gonna dig it.
Well, people love to see me die.
Hard no, keep these episodes, keep these seasons coming. I'm going to let you all know that, again, episodes 1 and 2 are currently available to stream on HBO Max. You're going to get a new episode on March 22nd, and then after that, you're going to get the rest of the episodes each week through May 10th, I believe. So look out for all of them. And I'm going to say, huge congratulations on what you accomplished with this show. Again, it is an absolute joy. Before we wind this down, you're all going to get a look at the remaining episodes of Rooster.
And before you do that quick, hold on a second, can I do one thing? This is really hard to do. You did such a great job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Things are really hard. And we always, by the way, there's so many things to watch. I've been watching these guys and all their press that we're doing stuff. I'm always so grateful that anybody makes time to watch anything. So, I'm really selective about what I watch. I'm digging The Pit right now. That show's killing it. I know, right? But thank you so much for checking this show out and our other shows. I'm really grateful.